Get ready. Here's that beat.
Hello, Patrick.
Hey, hey. What up?
Hey, what's going tonight, man? I was paying attention to the other video. I'm glad we're gonna cover the topic of violence because as
Yeah.
I'm standing right here in front of the gas station, there's two people who are engaged in a physical confrontation.
Oh,
Should
turn
not
your
think it's
camera
not
on. Let's
good.
see it.
Actually, the blue gang showed up, so I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, let me holster my gun too, because I'm not coming out. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to say that. Shit.
I
Let me-
hope we don't see a
yeah.
murder.
No, we're not gonna see anything. But yeah, just in
I
case
have
I gotta turn back, try to steal my car. Hold up, give me a second.
I have about 15 minutes, and then I have to end the show. So you have 15 minutes.
Really?
Ready, set, go.
So here's the confrontation. I'm on a quick trip out here. So the guy's getting cuffed, as you can see over there. Look at this shit. So I don't know what happened, who initiated the physical attack. You can see there's a woman involved. I really don't know what's going on. I just heard from an old man at the gas station. So you'll see it right here. You know, I really don't know what's going on. But anyways,
Okay.
I guess the question here is, what is really violence? And this is, I think this is kind of like a great topic based on what's going on here. And I have the question is self-defense violence? What is your position? My position is it is not.
So I think so this goes for all discussions about definitions of words. The only utility of a word is to communicate an idea from one brain to another. And if I'm trying to communicate to you and you have an understanding of violence that means only initiatory violence instead of defensive violence, then I'm going to use violence in a way to communicate my ideas such that you'll understand what I'm trying to tell you. If I'm talking to the general public, I think the general public uses the violence more generically. Like you can use the term defensive violence, and I think most people would know what that means. I look up the definition of violence on the internet, and it says behavior involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something. Well, you could certainly intend to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something that was attacking you, which would make it defensive. So I think the general public would use the word violence different than what you're suggesting. But, you know, like I said, words, the definition of words are only as important as our ability to communicate. So if you want to use a different version of violence for you and me to communicate, fine.
Okay, so my position is that what is it? Defensive force to repel. What is it? Or violating force, right? It's not violence itself, because the individual who initiated unjust force upon an innocent person lost the right to not suffer forceful consequences. Now, I'm trying to use, big words here, trying to act like I know what it means. So I'm basically relying on the etymology of the word violence, which comes from violate. So when you violate somebody, you're basically infringing or basically trespassing upon that person's, peace of mind or basically that person's peace. That's kind of why I kind of brought up the question, because I know you brought somebody else on your podcast once. He kept saying, I'm all for a woman using violence to defend herself from a rapist. Well, she's not really using violence. She's using self-defense. She's using what is it? Force in self-defense against the violator, the one who has violated her right to be free. Because what he's trying to steal is her peace of mind or her peace. You see where I'm going with this? So yeah, the words, like you said, is the ability to communicate is one of those things, but the communication itself as to the definition of words, I think that's what's lost the communication in society as a whole, worldwide, not just the United States itself.
If you want to try and change the way people use the word violence to, better teach them principles, by all means, go for it and try it. I have not had great success with that strategy. Like, Usually usually when I have success, it's when I change how I talk to better communicate my ideas into their brain.
Like for instance, a point that you just made, right? With the last caller that was, and I kind of don't want to go off track, right? But like for instance, you can see here, this is Austin Police Department. I'm here in Austin, Texas. These are some of these individuals here in uniform, right? Who are very much not liked by public opinion.
Individuals is a very polite way to describe it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and also because of the activity they're engaged in. Basically, they're supporting a violent gang known as the state, or who uses the title of the state to basically do dirty deeds against innocent people who don't want to do anything wrong, right? So, like you just expressed to the last, to the minarchist, the one that had the question between minarchist and anarchism. Yeah, there's actually individuals in uniform who are actually trying to go in there and kind of, I don't want to say rebel, but you said there are some individuals who actually don't, write citations, tickets, or nothing like that. They really don't want to collect. But in a way, they kind of try to push the moral agenda by using the scope of the state. And hopefully they can pass the message and communicate, hey, you know what? Maybe what we're doing is not the right thing. All this crap about the so-called constitution, the magic spells known as laws, they don't work out. Maybe we need to start using our own critical thinking before we just follow orders. So
there's also so-called oath keeper cops. Like I interviewed Stuart Rhodes, who's the head of the Oath Keepers, and he's on the Southern Poverty Law Center's terrorist list, and I might be able to interview him again. He's probably my favorite terrorist. But there's people that try to exist in those organizations in a more principled way, even if the principles are wrong. Like I would rather deal with an oath keeper cop than the normal average cop, because at least they purport to believe in the Constitution, which purports to protect me, even though none of that is real. At least they think it is. That's better than nothing.
Right. No, but they're at least, in the, I want to say those oath keepers that you just talked about, they're like borderline, kind of like, okay, they just one little step into the definitions of the words, right? Of what they, how they can define what morality is against legality. And those oath keepers are a little bit easier to basically say, hey, this is that difference, and would you take morality over legality? And those oath keepers, which would usually, because they're so close to that borderline, right? More than likely, it's easier to just communicate that the legality does not equal morality. Will actually jump the border and say, yeah, I just rather stick for morality. I'm not saying all of them. It's a very minuscule percentage, but the opportunity is there. So the only reason, that's why I brought the word of violence, the what to me is the wrongful definition that force is violence itself. It's because it is not. Violence implies that you're violating somebody. Basically, you're stealing, because the original
you're appealing to an objective definition of a word. Words do not have objective like mouth sounds do not have objective definitions. So an appeal to the etymology of a word is fallacious. Like a word.
Would you like me to find out what's going on here?
A word is only useful as it is in communicating a thought from my brain to yours.
Really quick, what's the what happened here, if you don't mind me asking?
Not gonna disclose.
No, that's fine. All right. Well, we tried.
I'm not part of that. I'm just watching.
Yeah.
All right, man. Is there anything else?
No, that's it. That was just my point, saying that I don't describe violence with the justifiable use of force to defend yourself. Violence is basically you're violating. It implies you're violating somebody else's consent. That's where violence basically begins, where the consent is broken.
Using force on an attacker is violating their consent. They don't want you to attack them.
No, but they lost the consent when they initiated that themselves. They communicated themselves that is what they want to engage in when they initiated that force, unjustified force.
Well, consent is like your agreement for something to happen. So even if they attack you, they still don't want you to attack them. They still don't consent. It's just that you don't have to care about their consent anymore. So it's still using force against somebody that doesn't consent.
No. Hold up. Let me break this down. Once that consent is broken from the other individual, you're basically implying, and we're going back to contractual definitions if you want to use the contractual definitions, right? Once I take an action by the mere conduct, I'm agreeing to accept a quid pro quo or an equal exchange of benefits or repercussions for my act, for my own act. In this case, if I break somebody's consent, I basically have implied to the individual that he has the right to break my consent as well. Even if I communicate verbally, hey, I don't consent. Yeah, but your conduct itself has said that you received the benefit of violating me, so I have the right to forcibly repel the violation. To restitute, it's called restitute in species, if you want to use legalities. To basically satisfy, the
you're welcome to use the language
violation.
however you think is best. I can't find a reason to care about the specific word violence being used in that way, but dude, you do you. If you think it's helpful and useful to you, go for it.
I do. Is it okay if I explain why to me it's very important to make sure we give the actual definition of what violence is and what violence it isn't?
Yeah, 1 minute. Mind? Yeah, give it to me in 1 minute.
Okay, really quick. So the reason I don't want to give this wrongful connotation that violence is actually, it's any form of force, right? It's because when you communicate to somebody, for instance, these people who oppose the possession of firearms or any other form of self-defense, utility or tool from individuals who actually want to possess those tools, for their self-defense, is because the first thing they say is like, oh, you're violent. So they're implying that, yeah, you want to use force. You have the intent to use force against an aggressor, right? So they say, yeah, that's why they use the word gun violence, which is, an oxymoron. But the point is then the thing is, we got to break it down. And that's why I like your podcast, because we're able to break down definitions to basically get to the to differ what's morality and what morality is not. Even though something may appear to be good, it is not really good. And something that may appear to be evil may not be evil, because the end result, itself will define what it is. That's just my particular experience, right? That's why I wanted to kind of break it down.
I appreciate you bringing it up, and I will. I'll give some thought to the word violence and see if I change my mind on it. And if I do, I will. I'll let you guys know. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Patrick. You have a good one, man. Thanks, everybody.
Be safe there. You got some Blue Line gang members nearby.
It's all good. It's all good, man. All right, bye.
Bye.